Valendo.
Bom dia a todos que estão aqui presentes, bom dia a quem está online conosco. Hoje é um dia que a gente está muito contente, né, de fazer essas ações que pretendemos ampliar aqui no EGC, de recepção de convidados especiais em temáticas estratégicas para o programa, para a universidade, para a educação brasileira, no caso. Né. I'm starting in Portuguese, and I'm going to translate in a little bit more. But first of all, thank you to be here with us, Dr. John. And Dr. John is here because we have a close friend, actually two friends that have worked with him in the lab of KMI. I'm not going to say how long ago, but this is a cooperation that has been a long time, and we are very honored to have you here to talk this subject that are very important to us and part of our research. I'm going to ask Dr. Denilson to introduce you and say to everyone that is watching this about our graduate program. We are now a program that has reached more than 700 master degrees and PhDs already included in our course. And the subject of digital transformation has been, of course, one of the main issues for new knowledge that we have worked on in our researchers and in all areas, in how digital transformation has been impacted to cities. And nowadays, in the last years, of course, not only because of pandemic, but because we are very worried with the transformation of education. So your lecture today is very important for us. I think we're going to be here. Dr. Denilson, would you like to give us a welcome to Dr. John?
Bom dia a todos. Bom dia a quem está online também nos acompanhando. It's a pleasure to have John here. In fact, we took John from his vacation. He is in Morro das Pedras. He's just spending part of his vacation here with us. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you here. So John has a long journey working in semantic lab, artificial intelligence, and many interesting areas that are of our common interest here at EGC. I'm going to read your bio. It's a long bio, but I'm going to try to read your bio here. So John is a full professor of computer science at the Knowledge Media Institute, the Open University's Technology, Research and Innovation Center, and the president of STI International, a semantics-focused networking organization. He has published over 280 reference articles in the areas of semantics, web, distributed ledgers, and e-learning. John served as the leader of the first of 5 themes on university learners for the 40 million pounds Institute of Coding, which aimed to increase the number and diversity of computing graduates in UK, as well as enhancing the connection between university teaching and corporate training. And in 2017, Professor Domingue research in blockchains and education was referenced in the Joint Research Center Policy Report Blockchain in Education for the European Commission. John has given many talks on his work, including at the Royal Institution in 2018, at TEDx, and now at EGC. The start of 2022 saw a new project to develop a smart national educational content platform, VOC Teach platform. I'm curious about that also. Embedding the latest AI techniques to support FE educators was initiated with John Domingue, serving as the overall project lead. In 2019, he became a fellow of the British Blockchain Association, and in 2020, he became an honorary professor at AMT University. John, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again.
Okay.
We should start with your talk, and after that we go to questions and division and so on.
Okay.
I guess it's better to
Yes, as you wish.
Okay, thank you.
So
dia. Desculpe that my Portuguese is terrible. So I am only giving you a thin slice of what we're doing. And I tried to pack a lot into here. I hope I didn't pack in too much. And I hope I'm speaking at the right speed. So this is a summary of many, many years of work at the Open University. I'll say a little bit about what the Open University is in a moment. But my lab has 80 people, and we act as the R&D centre, so to bring new technology to those universities. Set up in 1995, and we have 80 people. So I just finished as a director. I was director for 7 years. And, so a little bit about the Open University to give you some context. So just some basic numbers. So this is from a couple of years ago, so it's out of date. The numbers are a bit bigger. But 2.2 million people have studied with us. At any one time, we have over 200,000 students who are studying at home part-time. The word open means that you do not need any qualifications to start studying with us. So our degrees are recognised as to be as good as anywhere else's, and in fact other institutions use our materials. So we make very high quality materials. But anyone can come and study. So it's a unique set of issues that we face. You'll see that 60% of our students are already in work. We have a lot of students who are disabled. So I think we have 36,000 students, bigger than many universities, with some sort of disability that I cope with. We also have open platforms where you don't pay anything to learn. We founded a MOOC company, so you know MOOC companies. We founded one called FutureLearn, which we're now selling, but is the 4th largest in the world. And we have OpenLearn within our organisation. It's now over 100 million people visited the site. So we give away basically around, I think it's 5 or 10% of our materials. As you can imagine, it's an attractor for. Since our inception, we've had a strong relationship with the BBC. In fact, at the beginning, we were nearly called the University of the Air, because radio was big in 1969. So this is just one of the programs that we're in, TV programs, Green Planet. So basically, if you see anything on TV with David Attenborough, that's us behind the scenes. Doing Frozen Planet, Blue Planet 2, that's all us. We do lots of other TV programs and radio programs as well. So that's the Open University. So we are into social justice through education, and we teach at scale. So you can imagine technology has always been there since the very beginning. So I'm just going to, basically for the rest of the talk, I'm going to show you various technologies that we have created or we are creating to change. These technologies are in 2 main areas. There are others. I'm not talking about augmented reality and virtual reality. I've done a lot of work in that area. We've done a lot of work in webcasting. So I'm only going to talk about artificial intelligence and blockchain if I have time. So I don't have time to cover the blockchain work. We'll see how it goes. So learning analytics. OU Analyze, I've put the URL on the slide. I'll leave you the slides later. It's a learning analytics tool that we created 11 years ago. So we created 11 years ago. It's been deployed for about 7 or 8 years to our 4,000 tutors. We have 4,000 tutors that teach our 200,000 students. And here's a definition of learning analytics. So it's the measurement, collection, analysis, reporting of data about learners. And then that's used for understanding where your students are at, and also trying to predict what's going to happen. And if you can imagine, if our students are learning at home, it's not so easy to monitor them. So if I go more into the problem that we're addressing, if you look at standard universities, not every student finishes their degree. So you see in the UK, 79% of students finish their degree. In distance learning, it's a lot lower, it's 20%. If you look at those MOOC platforms, it's even lower still. So, and when we study the data around this, the first year is crucial. So that transformation, getting past your first year learning curve time, it takes our students 6 years to finish a degree. To the second year, that's the key jump. So if the student struggles in the first year, we need to try and help them. So, 10 years ago we built a tool that takes the online activity that the students are doing, so they're browsing on our virtual learning platform, and we transform it into a number of categories of actions. So the students can look at a forum, they can look at some content, they can look at a wiki, they can open a new and then we map that into a series of tokens, if you like, and then we machine learn over the token. So the OU, I would say, is one of the best universities on the planet, say it anyway, but for if you're a data scientist, because we have 200,000 students, so 200,000 data points. Our largest courses will have 3,000 students at any one time. So you can imagine 3,000 students doing exactly the same thing every year. It takes us a couple of years to make the course materials, but then we tend to present the course for about 8 years. So we have 3,000 students, and we present the course twice a year. So 6,000 students a year doing the same path. And this is what that path might look like. So the virtual learning environment opens usually 2 weeks before the course starts. So every row here is a week. It is a specific time point. And those letters mean different activities. So an end is do nothing. So a student can do nothing, they can open web pages, etc. And there are some combinations. So they do these activities. At the end, there are 3 outcomes we care about, which is pass, fail, drop out. And then we can serve it all. So you may have one student and they go through a particular path, doing different things, and it leads to success. You have another student, goes through a different path, and it leads to something else. They don't submit. So what we're doing is we look at the thousands of students for a particular course. So we have 4 machine learning algorithms, and they're tuned for each module. So each module will have the different particular patterns of the students, and it's tuned for the time of year. So in England, we'll have a Christmas break if you start in October. If you start in February, you'll have maybe an Easter break at different times. So we tune that, and then that is basically our machine learning model. And then we have an interface which is deployed to our students. So let me, I will show you the demo version. So as I said, there's a website there, and you can get a login with us, and then you can have a look. So here are the different courses that we have. So we have 300 modules running at any one time, and then you can click on one and then you can get the data. So here's the dashboard for a particular course. And at the top is a bar. I can go back in time. I can do a bit of time travel and go back to a particular area. So you can see here there are 2 colors. The blue color is 2014 J. J means October. The orange color is 2015, a year later. So basically we're predicting the outcomes for the 2015 students from what the 2014 students did. Yeah? So you just learn from last year's very easily. The bars are the outcomes on the assignments. So you can see how the students compare, slight differences. And then the line graph is their interactions with the virtual learning environment. So we're basically using 3 types of data on the students. Interactions with the VLE, their assignment scores, and also we use their demographic data. So some students come from poor backgrounds, etc. And then that gives us our predictions. If I scroll down, we get a summary. See, we have 900 students in the course. You can see how they've done to the previous students, whether those metrics are up and down. And then here's the really useful information. So each tutor gets this dashboard for their students. So each row here is an individual student. And the tutors say this is very valuable. So TMA is tutor marked assessment. So these are the assignments they're doing. And then the machine learning algorithms are making a prediction. Is the student going to pass the next assignment? Are they going to pass? And what's the grade that they will get? In the best cases, this is 95% accurate. So sometimes it drops to lower, to 85, but it's usually 95%. So this is available and deployed to every single of our 4,000 tutors. So the tutors can look at this and say, oh, you know, I didn't notice this. X is struggling, X isn't online. If I can choose a particular student, let's choose Florist, the first one, and then I can zoom in and get a detailed view. So what I'm getting here now is Joseph Florist's data compared to the rest of the students in his cohort. So we have the average for the cohort of 15 and then the student. And you can see, look at the interactions. The students are going up and down, and Joseph started okay, they submitted, got a decent score, but now there's no interaction, yeah? So that's a worry. So the machine learning, I would say, okay, I think there might be a problem. Now, sometimes the very best students don't interact at all, but then maybe. And then you can go down, and then you can get a sort of target if there are students similar to Joseph. And then I have this weighting of the demographic data and the VLE data. And then you can change this weighting and see if there's anyone's close. And you can see there's one student who may be close. And what we're looking to do is somehow bump a student to successful students like them. Similar background, similar interaction, etc., etc. So as I said, this has been running, we built it 10 years ago. It's been running for 8 years, deployed to our students. We encourage them to use it. And there are studies that show, maybe I have this in my slide, I'll go back. I'll talk about the studies later. So, I go back, yeah. So I have a... So we've done lots of studies. We have a whole unit at the Open University called IET, and they do evaluation, Institute of Educational Technology. So in studying our students, there are these factors that determine whether they're going to succeed or not. There's previous credentials, IMD is deprivation area where they live, education, ethnicity, disability, etc., gender. And then there are characteristics of the modules to do with the teacher. So how many modules are they teaching? How many students do they have? And is your tutor using OU Analyze? So it turns out the biggest predictor if you're going to do well at the Open University is your previous best score. Pretty obvious. The second biggest predictor if you're going to do well is your tutor using OU Analyze. Tutors that use OU Analyze, their students do better. We continue to work on this. The latest version we're looking at is on EDIA, so issues to do with diversity and accessibility, and predicting, is there something in the way we're teaching or our material that greatly affect people from a certain ethnic group, or do they adversely affect women? So that's OU Analyze. So that's somehow work that we've done and has been successful. As well as the Knowledge Media Institute doing research, we also have something we call Test and Learn under a committee steering group, and that's £2 to £3 million doing proof of concepts and pilots in different technologies, and I play a pretty major role in that. In fact, I'm leading on the AI part. Now, we've developed something which we call the OU, the Open University AI Ecosystem. So this is a one-slide encapsulation of our AI strategy for the Open University. At the middle, we have an enterprise data hub called Titan. So we started work on that maybe 3 years ago, and the idea is that all our data will go into there. So I'm sure you're like us, you have your data spread everywhere in many databases. In one data hub. Around that, we'll have a machine understandable area. So using knowledge graph technology, maybe embeddings, maybe others, which is a machine understandable representation of all our data, of all our materials that we make, all the interactions with the... And then around that, we'll build AI. The idea is easier to build AI services because we have that common core. There are 5 services that we're thinking of at the moment, approximately. If I start from the top left, a digital assistant. So give every open student their own personal AI, from when they start to when they finish. One of the problems we've noticed is that our support in any modules is great, but in between modules is not so good, and you can lose students. Have a sort of lifelong buddy with you for the 6 years that can help. A tutor assistant, if I go anti-clockwise, so giving every tutor something like a super version of OU Analyze, for helping them to manage their students. An AI career coach, I'll say more about later, so help students to choose the right modules to support their career. One for assessment. Assessment is a big thing. You can't change anything in education unless you change assessment, and how we use AI in that. And then, I've got this mixed up. So the dream machine is the AI career coach, and the one at the bottom is one for writing course materials. So we spend tens of millions of pounds every year making high quality materials, making parameter data Attenborough. So can AI help us with that? And I'll say a little bit more about that later. So I'll just show you a couple of clips of so we built some avatars, and we've tested these avatars with students to see what they think. So it's a proof of concept. I'll just show you a couple of clips. So one is in the pastoral area. So
late for an exam.
If you are a little late, you will still be able to take your assessment. You can enter the assessment up to half an hour after the start time.
The key thing I should say about this one and the next one is that they're automatically generated. So what we have is we have a pipeline where you just give some material and then you automatically create the avatar that can create questions. So that one was fed with the web pages of our FAQs, so general help for students. The next one has been fed with course material.
What is Python?
In this module, the language we are using is Python, and we will introduce appropriate parts of the language as needed. Python is a textual language, so it differs from the more pictorial approach of the programming language, Scratch, or the OU build. This information can be found in TM 112, Unit 1, Session 4, Section 3, Paragraph 2.
So she was just fed our module, and then she can answer any question on that. So just some of the background for we have a database which is called Voice, where we record all the interactions with the students on the forum. We did an analysis of 2.3 million requests from that, and then this is the analysis, automatic analysis from that. So you'll see that 75% of our inbound traffic is around 4 areas. General inquiries, I want to study with you, what do I do? Fees, when do I need to pay and how much, I can pay in chunks. Study intentions, what should I study, psychology, social psychology, etc. And enrollment, how do I enroll, when's the course start, how do I meet my tutor. And we think we can easily understand 20% of that inbound traffic. And that's been the basis of the initial proof. Once we build those, then we'll be expanding. And then you can see there are lots of benefits. We think there'll be an increase in student satisfaction. So our tutors do a lot of work for us, but they're not available 24/7. And if you imagine the students are learning part-time, they'll often they might be learning late at night when the children are in bed, or at the weekends, etc. And then of course there's you get reduced costs. And you're also to scale more easily. We have problems in the pandemic where we had a big influx in students. Okay, then find me another 30 tutors in cybersecurity. It's not. This is the view that the students have. So we did a survey of 155 students on the types of avatars that I showed you. And then you can see over 70% are positive about the idea, 60% would use it, 68% would like to have it in the virtual learning environment. And then you can see the different reactions to favourable reactions to the video, they would use the avatar, etc. And they even came up with the names that they would like to use. So it looks like the sentiment from our students is positive to this type of technology. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about some of the elements in our ecosystem. So this one is the dream machine. So it's really about finding the students their dream job. A lot of the students who come to us, they have never been to university. 30% don't have anywhere near the qualifications you need. And they come from families where no one's been to university. So it's really a dream for them to go. And we have lots of stories of people going from being a train driver to being a professor. As I mentioned, we have this social justice mission that we have, and the world is changing. It's not the same as when I was an undergrad, sure. So people will have 12 careers in their lifetime. We know, for example, that AI is going to change lots of things, so they'll be changing careers. So we want to give the students possibilities, and in our current 5-year strategy, we talk about preparing students for their lifetime journey. So we've always believed in lifelong learning, especially today. And this work is really a combination of the AI work that my lab does. Marcoms is our marketing department, and then we have a dedicated unit to careers and employability. From a slightly technical point of view, we see that skills is the glue. So skills is the glue that will connect the student's CV, the employer's jobs, and the educator courses. And then we can think about an ontology for this. So what we basically do is we build data mining tools, and I've done this in several projects, where you're looking at online job websites. And you pull out the skills from those, you automatically pull out the skills of people. And then you look at the learning outcomes of courses, and you pull out skills there, and then skills. And then understanding what students want from the careers folks. So students have a dream, they want to be an astronaut, nurse, doctor. There are particular skills, what skills are missing. They want to change their jobs. Of course, a little understanding of the jobs market, what jobs are important, which ones aren't, and also understanding what their future should be. So we have this ontology of skills in the middle, mapping between those, and then we build a knowledge graph at the center. So here we have a person on the bottom right, Maxi. Maxi is a project manager, and we know what skills a project manager has, so we can infer that Maxi has those skills. And then we can back to courses. Maybe he wants to move, maybe he wants to join the army, or maybe he wants to go to the NHS, and we say, okay, these are the different things that Maxi should do to accomplish that. So one of the outcomes of this is we did this natural language processing for the job market as well as the courses, and then we created this integrated knowledge graph. There are a lot of public knowledge graphs out there, so I know that on job websites that one can look at. Some, of course, you're not allowed to scrape at others, you can. Have a platform for that. Another final thing I would say about this is that there's more to understanding what people want to do, what their dreams are, apart from the skills. So people will have certain likes and dislikes, For example, I like to work with people, or I like to work outdoors. And especially younger people today have social issues. So I want to work for a company that's doing good for the world. I want to support climate change, etc. So the worker characteristics are important, and the characteristics of the particular job. So it's a bit broader. There's a big table I put in the slide. Okay, so that's the AI career coach, the dream machine we're building up. This is Voc Teach that I'll talk about. So different area. This is, can we use AI to support people who are teaching online? We came up with this project during the beginning of the pandemic. So everywhere globally, if you're at an institution, suddenly all your students are at home, or they're students at home, and we have to move online. And for many places, they don't have a clue how to do it. So we thought at the Open University, would it be good if we could help them? So this I think of as Netflix. Netflix for educators, but instead of TV programs and movies, you have course materials. I'll give a quick demo. Okay, so this is okay. So think about this as Netflix. So we're automatically ingesting online materials. So we have various partners, and they create some online material. There are some organisations globally, and including the UK, that their main business is producing online material, and we have connections with them. So we take the materials, we automatically analyse them and ingest them and index them, and then produce a recommender. So it's all automated, so no humans in it. And this is a sort of fine mock-up of what we're doing, and we're testing with our market. This is in the FE space, further education space. So we're talking here of students who are between 16 and 19 and learning. And then there's the area of construction. So people, if they use this, so this is an educator, Marvin, and Marvin has a profile, as you would have a profile on Netflix. And then it says where Marvin works, what subjects he teaches, what levels he teaches. And then there are the recommendations, just like you have in Netflix. And here I can click on one. Here's a construction materials, so it's a video that you can use. You can see who it's authored by, someone called Lucas from the Open University. We found that educators have strong preferences. They don't want to get materials from anyone, but I want to get it from a certain university, by a certain social group. So we embed that into the system. There's a rating system, which is quite detailed, where you can say, okay, this is good or bad for teaching and learning, for accessibility, or for presentation and design, it's done well. I can look at this, I can look at the learning outcomes, and then one thing we do automatically, in the UK, like many countries, we have national curricula. So national standards for what you used to teach and where. So we've embedded those in the system, and we do an automatic mapping between anything we ingest to those curricular standards. And this is what you get here. So you can see there's one exploring occupational studies in the workplace. There's something on, actually they're all the same, but they're mapping the different elements. So there's a sub-area that for floor and wall tiling. There's one for this for, these are all floor and wall tiling, but we can see what the mapping is to that. And then we can say, okay, yeah, this really maps to that. If I like it, I can add it to my own personal collection. So then it becomes like, I'll go back to here. So then it's like Pinterest. So you can go, as an educator, you can go around collecting things and putting them into your own learning path. You can see that Marvin has his own collections, but then he's collected some from others, from Joe Esther. He likes Joe Esther's personal collection. So then he can map those. So that's, we've built an MVP for this, and we're getting evaluation from a number of third. And then we'll see if we build the final product in this area. Okay, let me go back to my slide. So that's what teach. Yes, now I'll go on to. So I guess everybody here has heard of ChatGPT. Yeah, so we have too, and we're looking at that. So it's you know, as everyone knows, it's basically a prediction system. It doesn't know, predicts, and there's lots of scary things. I'll just play my favorite ChatGPT video, which I used to scare the executives of the Open University in the way day for them.
Oh man, an assignment due on Monday with 1,500 words. See like this. Okay, 1,500 words. Copy. Paste. Submit.
Always impressive. Yes, it's always impressive. And everyone will have their favourite examples. I know someone senior has used it to generate questions for an interview, etc. There are some analyses coming out, and again, you can find them online. So somebody did a study of comparing GPT-3 on writing essays with undergraduates, and the AI is in pink. So you see it did pretty well. It did sort of in the middle of the humans for the area, except for creative writing. So there was something about that particular assignment and the graders who were looking at this were all, they had PhDs or they're university professors, and the writers were undergraduate students. Some of whose area of study is writing. So it's pretty impressive. And of course the difference is that the humans took 3 days and GPT-3 took 20 minutes to do. There are various studies and exams you see, and they vary. One paper, GPT takes the bar exam, does pretty well. Passed 4 law school courses in Minnesota. Passed the US medical licensing exam, all 3 parts, did pretty well. College level microbiology quiz. And of course, the thing about GPT-3 and ChatGPT is they're trained on the entire web. It's a general tool. And if you listen to the OpenAI CEO, he says that where the real money will be made in fine-tuning of these models. So you fine-tune it. So imagine you've got a fine-tuned model for law or medicine. General model do this. So maybe like everyone, we're doing proof of concepts and pilots with ChatGPT right now. And so we're doing one on in the psychology department. So our psychology department has 17,000 students who are studying BPS, British Psychological Society. And for that, they need to understand research methods. And not all psychologists like research methods, but you have to learn statistics. So we're going to build a dedicated avatar, like the one I showed you, using GPT-3. We're building it at the moment, proof of concept, to explain concepts to the students. Like, what is an experiment? What are the evidence about this? Taking the materials, so taking GPT-3 and layering the materials that we have. We have a dedicated website for this where we teach you about survey methods. Then we have another one we're building now for introductory Chinese. And this one, instead of answering student questions, here we're focusing on the automatic generation of questions for students. So there's a study that showed if you want to learn Chinese, one of the best ways, you need to test yourself. So this will be an avatar generating questions, personalized questions for you on a particular subtopic that you don't understand. There'll just be 150 students in this area, but there are 8,000 students across all the languages we do. And GCSE is an exam you take when you're 16. So we're thinking offer this nationally and around this area. Another area we're looking at is in disabilities. So we have 37,000 students, as I said before, who have disability. We need to collect what are their needs, what they have. We have a web form, but we've been trialing a chatbot instead called Taylor. In the study, 65% of the students, 134 students, said they preferred the chatbot to filling in a web form. And we're adding GPT-3 functionality right now to help with the analysis of what they do and then reframing what they text. Because what they discuss with the chatbot will go to a dedicated team of the okay, these are the tweaks we need to make to teach these students. So this is an initial analysis. So you can see there's other, is the highest one. The next one is anxiety. A lot of students with mental health problems, some with depression, etc. Some with autism. GPT-3 can automatically and easily and then help with the reframing. And then finally, we're looking at synthetic students. So we have student personas that our marketing department takes from analysing a subset of 200,000 students. And then we have a lot of functional knowledge that everybody does on how to develop your career in accountancy. So then we combine those and create a sort of synthetic avatar for this particular persona in this particular area. And then the students can interact. So that's another thing that we have in the pipeline that we'd like to do. So that was a very, very quick overview of I see that I'm using up a lot of time. So I'll do the blockchain part quickly. Okay? Website here, blockchain.open, and then you can find the material. So quickly in just the overview, the sort of viewpoint we have is self-sovereignty for students. So with this technology, the students can keep control of their lifelong data around their credentials. So almost when students are born, they can put their birth certificate on the blockchain. In fact, Brazil is the first country to do this. And then you can imagine when a child is growing up, they can keep their vaccines. We did a vaccine passport in my lab. I'm using this during the pandemic. And then they can get different trophies, etc. And their exams will all go on the blockchain. And then the ownership will go from the guardians to the child. And then as they learn, and this means that the students, if you're doing lifelong learning, students don't learn at one institution. They learn at many institutions, and then we can help this. We've done work in this, my project at Institute of Coding, this £40 million project I was involved in, kicked off by Theresa May, which is the Prime Minister, was on computer science education. And for that we built a dedicated blockchain for the credentials that we would offer above university credentials, and they would all be, it's basically a global source of truth for the credentials that anyone can predict. So for example, if somebody asks me, do you really have a PhD? And I say yes, and if I don't believe you, what am I going to do? Fly home and put my hand in? So now I can pull out my phone and show you. Here's one of our partners, Queen Mary, University of London, talking about the digital badges that we created. So one of the benefits is it provides a lightweight approach where you can capture credentials everywhere. So if you have a one-day training course, a boot camp, then you can produce credentials, and then they're stackable. So you do some boot camps and they can contribute to a micro-credential, do some micro-credentials that contribute to a degree. We built a physical version, so we have a summer school. The students, as they're learning things, they go to their tutor. The tutor swipes a card, your badge changes colour, and that gets recorded on the block. This is an IoT course, and of course, this is an IoT device, it's sort of self-referential. We worked with a company called Sphere. It's a sort of global company for accreditation in the IT area, and they have a huge framework with nearly 800 different levels of recognition of qualifications for all IT jobs. And then we map those to blockchain credentials. So then we can, in the Institute of Coding, the students can be doing a course. So, okay, this part of the course where you study at a company will now recognize that. So it's internationally recognized. I'll just quickly show some movie. So this is one where we did a little proof of concept for the AI career coach. So because your blockchain credentials is a verified description of all the skills that you have, and then we can map it up to jobs. So we're doing this mapping to jobs. You can get the details and we tell you where the jobs are in the whole of Europe, because we're mapping jobs all over Europe. And then this one is, these are the jobs which you're nearly qualified for, and then if you took, and you'd be qualified for this job. So it's a course recommending the jobs as well. And then you can see the job site, this person's missing data wise, etc. If I go to the next one, this is an app, proof of concept app that we built for students. So you can bring out your phone and say, okay, here are my qualifications, all verified. And then if we link you to a job, so someone's being offered a job or an interview at Tesco, you can give them your qualifications, but in a time-stamped fashion. So if you want to private, you can, if you, for whatever reason, you can keep that. And then you can send them the email and they can check. There are lots of studies about people lying, people who have become the head of their country. I think it happened in India and in Germany, they lied about their qualifications. IT lied about their qualifications. In South Africa, they bought completely the wrong set of trains because the person who was doing the purchasing claimed they had a master's in engineering, they didn't. So the width of the trains was not the width of the track in South Africa. So there's lots and lots of examples there. Another big area is in regulatory reporting. In the UK, we have to report statistics. Where are your students from? What are they studying? What qualifications do they get? Are you providing value for money? And they change that, and every time they change that, it's a big headache for us. We have databases with millions and millions of records. So imagine, instead of doing this on a per university basis, there was just a global source of truth. An experiment, that'd be a huge reduction, huge increase in efficiency. And then finally, there are people talking about decentralizing university. So the Open University, we disaggregated back in the 1970s the academics that make the course materials and the academics that teach. You can imagine disaggregating that further, disaggregating your different administration departments, having content providers, as well, and then verifying everything on something called a smart contract on the blockchain, a piece of code that can do legal things and transfer funds. And then students can interact with that. And again, you gain efficiencies and you separate out the different concerns. Now that might sound like it's completely crazy, but the University of Oxford set up one called Wolf, which they were advertising as a blockchain university, now they're not, but Wolf is still running, and anyone in the world can be a member of the graduate. You just have to have a good CV. And one in the Southern Hemisphere, in New Zealand, Bitopia, that they're claiming to be a blockchain university. Again, to use. So, I'm going to summarize now. Very tight thing. So I have 3 summary slides. So from the Open University, we have this social justice is our mission. So social justice through education for all. And our slogan is open to people, places, methods and ideas. And if you go to anybody at the Open University, it's like this. And we teach at scale. So these technologies are important for us. From the AI side, the opportunities are around flexibility of learning. So instead of the student having to fit to you, come to your campus, meet your student, you fit to them. So they study at their own pace with their own learning. Assessment on demand. I think okay. So rather than waiting a few weeks or even a few months for the feedback, you get instantaneous feedback on formative or summative assessment. Low cost course creation. Another project we're thinking of doing is we're going to experiment with ChatGPT to create modules. So to see if you can by writing assistant. A digital assistant for every student, helping them, especially in the tough start. and then a course recommender. On the blockchain side, it gives students their own personal learning passport, follows them no matter where they learn, and it's verified. I know students that come from East Asia have a very hard time coming to Europe. In the UK, if you're a nurse, and if you from one hospital to another, they don't trust your qualification. You have to restart again. I'm sure there are many areas for that. We can have lightweight accreditation, so accredit summer schools, accredit learning in labs. There's this interoperability of learning. So people talk about stackability. So wherever you learn, you get a bit of credit, and then that contributes to something more. And that especially acts as a gateway for disadvantaged students. You can bring it, rather than saying you have to jump into a 5-year degree or a 4-year degree. And then we can get this automatic regulatory reporting and decentralized universities. So that's everything. I'm finished, so thank you very much.
Yes, we have time for a few questions.
It was a lot.
Start to integrate these badges with this national resume or LinkedIn or something like that?
There are a couple of standards for badges. There's the open badges standard, which we're actually on the board of designing, not me, but the colleagues at the Open University, and we map to open badges. There's also a W3C standard called verifiable credentials, and this is about verifying anything. So that the use case they use is if you walk into the bar in the US and they ask you, oh, are you over 21? How can you prove that without giving away all the details on your credit card and your driver's license? So we map to verified credentials and open badges. But we do have a version, to answer your question fully, where you can click and it goes into LinkedIn.
About how are treatment about the regionalism? For example, absolutely is in Brazil negative performance, but in the United States is positive. How are the comportment about blockchain changes over this type of tests?
So if I understand, I'm still understand the question. So you're asking what's the perception of blockchain?
Yes.
Yeah, good one. That's a good one. I would say it's in the UK and in Europe it's somehow mixed, but you know, there is a lot of hype generally, but there are companies doing real things with blockchain. One of the main arguments which I push isn't really for blockchain per se, but decentralization. And if you listen to Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, for many years he's been saying that the web is over-centralized. And we had the scandals, I don't know if the scandals around Cambridge Analytica, did that reach you? Yeah. So where people abuse your data. So he's called for a decentralized web. And he has a company making Interrupt where people have their own personal data. So my position is as a decentralized view where students are empowered. And again, if you deploy AI, like we do, one of the first questions you might get is students complaining, well, I don't want you to have my data. You know, what are you doing? Are you doing things that are ethical? And in fact, I didn't say, one of the first things we did with OU Analyze was develop an ethical policy. So now, what I say to people is, this decentralization work, including blockchain, is to give you empower you, and also to have these increased efficiency. So I try to somehow hide the blockchain part, to say it's really about, can we decentralize the world, especially for lifelong learning. So if students are going to learn lifelong, where are you going to put the credentials? You can't put it in a single university. So you could give it to the students, but then who's going to believe them? So then, okay, so then you have those issues. And blockchain technologies can help a bit. So it's like, there's no magic bullet, but there are arguments that might be made.
Telling me about some issues regarding business model when you talk about ChatGPT. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So because like everyone, we're excited looking at it. So what I think, and I'm trying to encourage. I speak to my executive at the university quite often. They don't listen to me often. That's okay. About innovation and what we should do. If you listen to the CEO of OpenAI, they say that one of the things he says is where the money is going to be made is in the tuned models. So ChatGPT, GPT-3 is tuned on the entire web. So he envisages there will be different specific models which are tuned for finance, for education, etc. And then that's, as I mentioned very quickly at the end, in fact I'm writing the internal proposal now to see if we can tune GPT-3 on our course materials. So if you imagine that we have 300 courses, we spent 2 years making the materials, so we have fantastic. We can feed those into GPT-3, and then you have a dedicated channel. Because of course one of the issues with this technology, and again, is hallucination. Is that a term you recognize? Where it gives you, people are saying it's like going to an Ivy League university. You get very confident answers that are sometimes completely wrong. Yeah? So it's how do you get rid of hallucination? And again, in fact, the experiment we're doing, we're saying constrain yourselves first to only answer from our course materials. Your language skills come from the entire web, but your content should come from us. And that's what I think is going to, I think, let's say, a world of fine-tuned GPT-3 is very exciting, especially in education. But just to say more on that, what I'm thinking of doing, as people come across the concept of prompt engineering, so when you use the tool, you put in a prompt, a small piece of text for the art, and there are people that it takes time to write the right prompt. There's even a marketplace for prompts called PromptSpace. You Google that. So people are selling the prompts for art. So you can say, I want cars that look like 1950s cars in the style of Dali. And there are people who spent usually 30 hours writing the right prompt for that. So imagine if your course materials, and then but also the prompts. So then maybe one day we don't have course materials, but you have a library of the prompts which also generate your course material, and then you personalize them for the student. Imagine if you fed in your student assignments. So then ChatGPT responds in the language of the student. Now, there are educational issues. A halfway point. But you can imagine playing with that and ingesting prompts. But every student could have their own personalized content. And again, if you look at how people have used ChatGPT, one of the things people say is, I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me like a 10-year-old? So you could have a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old button, or in my language, etc. Content they don't understand. So that's what I'd like. So it's not really static content anymore. It's really dynamic person.
When you think about all this integration, all this technology integration, AI, blockchain, how to adapt or include concepts, techniques, or how what are the issues about the integration in the university curriculum?
Okay, so we don't have long enough. Let me try. So, as I mentioned, if you look at any new technology, it comes from, it might come, you think of Spotify, you think of Netflix, social media platforms, you have these big innovations in those areas. You don't see big innovations in education, technology probably. So the educational establishments tend to be behind technology rather than in front, which is okay. So there are issues to do with how do you convince both your senior management and also the people actually doing the teaching to adopt the technology. How do you map it to your sometimes very old infrastructure? So what we're doing at the Open University is, at the beginning, we have, after me pushing for some time, we have a chief data officer who's responsible for improving how we handle data. And we now have a machine learning team and a data analytics team. And then we need to convince the educators. And I think the main part for that is experimentation. So because even though my talk was somehow polished maybe, there's a lot of difficulties here. And the way to really make sure that what you produce technologically really fits and is really beneficial. I've mentioned that we do these proof of concepts and pilots. So we aim is to do pilots with real students, with real tutors and settings and learn from that. And I think that's the only thing that I can do. Luckily at the OU we can pilot at scale. But that's what you have to have this virtuous circle. Still, it's not easy. I think that's the way to do it.
My question to you is in the institutional frame. How many universities work with Open University in these projects right now? You have an international cooperation to do this?
So on the technology side, our lab is 2/3 externally funded. So we get some around $1 million from the Open University, and they count it. And then we bring in, and we do some national projects, and we do a lot of European projects. And we do collaboration. So we have European collaborations with other academic partners and industry. So I've done work especially with IBM, a lot of work with SAP, and then you have those generic influences, and then we do work within the Open University sector. So, we do educational projects as well. So it's a mixture. So you somehow do let's say the more far out stuff, you do collaborative and funded projects, and then you bring it in-house. The in-house, as you know, external funders don't really want to fund you for something which is close to your core business. So the close to core business we do in-house.
I guess people are starting now.
Okay.
So, yeah, we should end here. Yes. Thank you very much again,
Okay.
John.